Aye.
Good morning, councillors, CEO, directors, and Mr. Screen in the public gallery. The traditional custodians of the land on which we are privileged to call home, the land on which we meet today, the Yuwi people, have demonstrated a human connection back over 40,000 years as part of one of the oldest living cultures on the planet. It's important when we gather as a community, as a council, to pay our respects to the elders of the Yuwi people, past and present, and recognise their continuing connection to our land and our community. So this council meeting is being streamed live, recorded and published in accordance with the council's standing orders. Welcome to our online audience as well. Welcome to a member of the public in our public gallery. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image and your voice being recorded and published. And we're required to tell you that you may be subject to legal action if your actions or comments are deemed inappropriate or unacceptable. And because this is Remembrance Day, councillors, the intent is for the council to be able to attend the Makai Remembrance Day service over here at Jubilee Park at 10:30. So depending on the progress of the meeting, the intent would be to procedurally adjourn the meeting close to 10:30 so that we can resume an hour later after having attended the Remembrance Day service. Declare the meeting open and welcome once again. Father Stephen Hanley is here to lead us in prayer this morning. Father Stephen.
Mayor, councillors, and indeed all who are here. Appropriately on this day, we might begin with a prayer of remembrance. Let us pray for all who suffer as a result of conflict and ask that God may give us peace. For the servicemen and women who have died in the violence of war, each one remembered and known to God, may God give peace. May God give peace for those who love them in death and in life, offering the distress of our grief and the sadness of our loss. May God give peace. For all members of the armed forces who are in danger this day, remembering family, friends, and all who pray for their safe return, may God give peace. God give peace for civilian women, children and men whose lives are disfigured by war or terror, calling to mind in penitence the anger and hatred of humanity. May God give peace. For peacemakers and peacekeepers who seek to keep this world secure and free, may God give peace. God give peace for all who bear the burden and privilege of leadership, political, military, religious, asking for gifts of wisdom and resolve in the search for reconciliation and peace. Indeed, may God give peace. O God of truth and justice, we hold before you those whose memories we cherish and those whose names we will never know. Help us to lift our eyes above the torment of this broken world and grant us the grace to pray for those who wish us harm. As we honour the past, may we put our faith in your future. For you are the source of life and hope, now and forever. Indeed, on this day too, be with our Makai Regional Council. Open their eyes, ears, minds, hearts and hands in discovering your will in what needs to be in maintaining peace and harmony within our region. Be with them and bless them on this day. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Stephen. There's nobody absent on council business. No apologies. We've got a leave of absence for Councillor Bella requesting leave of absence for the council meeting on the 25th of November for this year. Somebody like to move? Councillor Mann moves, Councillor England seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Condolences? Are there any condolences? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Your Worship. Last Wednesday on the 4th of November, Louis Raffoldi passed away peacefully at his home in West Mackay, aged 93 and a half. He is the father of former Mayor Deirdre Comerford, and I know how proud he was for the work that Deirdre did for our community. Louis migrated from Italy to Australia in 1948 to work in the sugar industry in Edmonton. What brought him to Makai was his bricklaying and plastering skills, which were needed in the construction of Paradise Guest House. He is now survived by his wife Joyce, 4 of his children, 12 of his grandchildren, and 3 of his great-grandchildren. On another note, Your Worship, while we honour today the fallen on Remembrance Day, I've never publicly acknowledged my grandfather. That was a flight engineer in World War II who lost his life in a test flight while undertaking a stop-start in mid-air in a Halifax bomber over England. He died when my dad was 3 years old. I believe after this incident, they never used this practice again in testing engines. What was interesting to find out was that the other gentlemen flying with him on that day, a pilot, a gunner, and engineers, were from Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. My granddad's name was Horace Leslie Jones. I'd also like at this moment to acknowledge any Indigenous brothers and sisters in the armed forces that also lost their lives due to the freedom that we enjoy today, and I pay my respects to their families. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Any other condolences? No other condolences? Conflicts of interest to declare today? None? Thank you, councillors. Confirmation of the minutes of the 28th of October. The ordinary meeting held on that date. They've been circulated. Some moved by Councillor Bonaventura, seconded by Councillor Green. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. There's no business arising out of those minutes as has been circulated to us. There's no Merrill minutes at this point, and because of the nature of today's meeting and the possibility of an adjournment at 10:30, I'd like to move a procedural motion that we resolve to alter the order of business to move public participation to this point, that is following the Merrill minutes, which will save Mr Screen, who's the only one here today, possibly waiting around for an hour. Those in favour? Any against? It's carried. Thank you. So we'll move public participation now, Pam, if you wouldn't mind, up until item 10 or 9.1. That'll save it. And welcome David Screen. Thank you very much for coming in. The rules of public participation is it's not an interaction. As you probably know, you've been here before, David. So you have 3 minutes, and welcome to council.
All right, thank you very much for letting me speak. My name is David Screen. I'm here today because I'm concerned about the insurance premiums we pay to live here in Mackay. And I was just wondering, has someone got a calculator that can do something for me?
This is not an interaction service.
Yeah, okay.
David, thank
can
you.
you do it for me? Figures all I'm after is 2008 we had a flood. 10% of Mackay was flooded. That was 10% of the houses. We calculated there was 40,000 houses in Mackay, right? Our insurance premium went up by $1,000 on that time, okay? So 1,000 times 40,000. Then multiply that by the last 12 years, and that's what we've been paying to live here since we flooded, okay? I'm going on about this because I believe we've been overpaying for the last 12 years, and the council still, in my opinion, continues to build in low-lying flood areas, all right? I understand this is only my opinion, and I brought in an example today, which I can go through if you want. I brought it in, and I've got copies there to hand out. Whether you want to see them or not, I was hoping they'd be handed out. I could go through them with you.
We have those. We'll distribute them later.
Can we hand them out and I'll go through them?
No, we'll distribute them later. As I said, this is not an interaction with council, Mr Screen. You can present in this 3 minutes what your issue is, and we'll take it on board and have the...
I want to present this.
Well, we've got them, and we will send them out later to the councillors. This is not an interactive session.
No worries. Okay, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to the consideration of committee reports and recommendations. The draft minutes of the Character and Heritage Advisory Committee at 10.1. Councillor Mann moves the adoption. Councillor May seconds. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Worship. I'm really quite proud of the Character and Heritage Advisory Committee, to the volunteer community members who are offering their ideas and participation so freely. So it's really good. We're starting to, I think, achieve some really good stuff or talk about some really good stuff. And one of the things raised in the meeting was recording the cemetery walks, somehow collating and recording those. And a number of people put their hand up to be part of a project group, which is really good. I also indicated I'd like to be on that group, but that means then we've got a whole number of volunteers who want to lead those cemetery walks, and I think that's really important that we keep that going. We had an update from Nadine from Economic Development Team about the building improvement rebate, and that interested a lot of people, especially with heritage facades, how people might, a lot of the committee members were interested in how people might improve their facade. We had an update on the Makai Heritage Discovery Trail. The Character and Heritage Advisory Committee have offered feedback on the trail, and we're looking at a launch in December that, you know, a lot of people will be invited to, so that's really exciting as well. Stage 2 includes the development of Youngliff and Chatton Driving Trail, and we're looking at that, staff will be working on that in 2021. And we discussed a number of Heritage Week activities that we might conduct, including a bus tour of the Heritage Trail, the Valley Heritage Trail. We might have to get together another group to organise that because we are short on staff resources, but certainly the ideas were there for Heritage Week, Heritage Week next year. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Mann. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Thank you. 10.2, draft minutes of the Visual Arts Advisory Committee. Would somebody like to move that?
Yep, certainly.
Councillor Townsend moves. Councillor Mann seconds. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor. I have attended quite a few events at the Visual Arts or the Art Space, including some really good, and I've got my notes and I've just got to dig for them, I'm really sorry.
All right. Perhaps you could, if there's another speaker, are there other speakers?
Sorry.
No other speakers?
No.
All right, we'll take your approval of that then, Councillor Townsend. Are there speakers against? No other speakers? Put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Thank you. Correspondence and officers' reports. 11.1 is the Office of the Mayor and CEO report, the monthly review for October. CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just pointing out a couple of things in there. Highlights are no lost time injuries in October, and we're tracking well on LTIs in general, lost time injuries in general against previous years, so that's a credit. Having said that, always vigilant against staff injuries, and we have about 42 overall. So again, we're watching and we're interacting to bring those down. The other comment that I'll make two other comments. One is no major funding announcements this month, although there is about 800K in new funding, which brings total funding up to about 14 million so far across the year. And the final thing that I'll mention is that the Cyclone Debbie beach restoration works, they're coming to an end with acquittals due.
Thank you very much, CEO. Questions for the CEO around the CEO's report and the Office of the Mayor and CEO? No questions. Somebody like to move the report's adoption. Councillor May moves. Councillor England seconds. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'd just like to pull out a few highlights from the report, and first of all, the Council and Community Day. This one was held in the central area, we'll call it. This is our third Council and Community Day for this term of council, so we were able to progress and have a look around a lot of the council assets, including the water laboratory, the wastewater treatment plant out at Bakers Creek, our library, Botanic Gardens. We went there for lunch. So a whole range of interactions, mainly with the council staff, and at some stage, perhaps in the new year, we'll be able to return to our normal council and community days where we start to invite community to come and meet with us and to go to businesses and talk with people around what's been happening as far as council is concerned. I think another thing to highlight in the report is around the coronavirus and what Council's doing in regards to that. And it's pleasing to see that we've set up the internal group that is there ready to spring into action. Where, as we know, things are running pretty well in Queensland and in particular the Mackay region. But it's great to see that the CEO has taken the initiative to establish that group so that if things change in a hurry, they can be all pulled together and we can react accordingly. So I think that's really a good move. I would also like to really highlight the external funding that this council has been able to gain, and each month the CEO continues to report on that, but this month alone, over $14 million has been awarded to this council and in external grants, which really helps us manage our budget, and particularly in this time, I'm not going to read out all of those grants, but $14 million is a substantial amount of money external to what would normally have to be funded by ratepayers, so that's fantastic. The CEO did mention that the Cyclone Debbie, and again, this has been a long process, as we know. Cyclone Debbie seems like a figment of our imagination now, but it has been a long process, and there's been a lot of work done by the staff in regards to the preparation of those claims and then carrying out the work that's been approved under the NDRRA. Over $14 million worth of restoration work this council had to deliver, and that's been fantastic that we've been able to achieve that and now have the sign-off from the department. So I think that's really a great accomplishment over a number of years from the council management and the council workers. Also, the Greater Whitsundays, there's a little bug flying around. I'm not just dodging things. The Greater Whitsunday Council of Mayors continues to meet and continues, I think, to advocate for the Greater Whitsunday region. And I think during the election that we've just seen through the state government, it is really important that our region has a very strong, cohesive voice to put forward the advocacy for our region, and I think the Greater Whitsunday Council of Mayors needs to be congratulated on continuing to do that work. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to follow on from Councillor May in relation to our Council and Community Day. It was a very good day, and I think for me the highlight basically was our visit to AJK. Their method of turning waste into fertiliser is a first. It's an innovation in our region, and there will be more of this in the future, obviously. But I was very impressed, and I congratulate AJK on the work they have done and look forward to future announcements in that area.
Thanks, Councillor Bonaventura. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just noted on page 18, under safety, that one of the injuries that our staff had endured was a paralysis tick. So I think it's very timely that we remind everybody out in the community that we're entering into a season where we're actually out and about more. It's a lot hotter, so we all want to be outside. And getting a paralysis tick isn't just for our animal friends, it's also for any member in our community who could get one. So just ask people to be vigilant.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Capital Works Review for October 2020. Where is he? There he is. Director.
Morning. Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to present the Capital Works October report. You have a copy in front of you. I think first I'd like to touch on safety. Again, no LTIs for October, but a little bit concerning were the number of incidents that were reported. We have 6, 2 involving employees or reported by employees, one of which was well documented, which was partial collapse of the floor at 6 River Street. So that's being dealt with now. But a little bit more concerning, some contractor-related incidents, particularly 3 of them around traffic controls or lack of measures in place around traffic controls. So we certainly take those very seriously, and we'll be dealing with them through the contractor management. Year-to-date spend on the capital delivery is reasonably good. It's against our forecast. It's tracking pretty well on target, a little bit behind, but certainly in the realm of where we want to see it. Also in October, we've had about 8 projects complete or reach completion in terms of our program. You'll note there, one's Queen's Park, which did open quite a few months ago, but the reason it comes up on this report is because we finally closed out the final issues with the contractor and closed out in terms of the spend, the budget. So that's why it pops up a couple of months later. And other than that, I'm just happy to take any questions.
Certainly, Director. Questions for the Director? Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Just in relation, you mentioned there in your report, Director, around about 18% of the capital program, dollar-wise, is being delivered at present. I'm just asking the question, given that we're nearly towards the end of the first half of the year, do you think that we will be able to deliver all of our projects in this forthcoming year?
In the financial year?
In the financial year? Will we meet our targets?
Yeah, look, our target is to obviously complete all of the projects we have in our program. So our objective is always to deliver all of them. How we go about that is, of course, continually monitoring and managing our program. It's pretty common in a business this size not to be able to deliver it all, but of course that's our target. We have processes in place to deal with the management of our program, so we're constantly monitoring, reporting and managing what we might do to catch up. Yeah, so the answer is yes, we're a little bit behind, and that's not uncommon. It's also not uncommon to not have, after 4 months, is to not have the spend equivalent necessarily to the months, if you know what I mean. So because we're tracking 96% of our forecast, that's what our project managers, our program managers are telling us that the program spend should be doing at that time. So we're reasonably comfortable, given the processes we have in place, that that is on target. Of course, there's always going to be slippage, and there's always going to be projects that we have to push out. We just try and avoid it where we can.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor England.
Thank you, Worship. The vehicle that drove through the worksite, do we get to understand whether that was unintentional, intentional, a medical issue? And after the fact, do we report those to QPS?
I'm not quite sure about QPS, but certainly we have a much better system now of picking up our contractor managed work. So in this particular instance, of course, we will record it against the contractor's work program that they, any issues involving traffic management that are not being followed, we pick up against the contractor's management of the site. In that particular incident, that's someone driving through that the contractor or anyone else involved in the project can't do anything about. So yeah, that was a QPS report, I believe, would come out of what the incident report in control picks up.
CEO has a comment.
Yes, it has been reported to QPS, so they'll investigate.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions for the Director? Okay, Councillor England.
I'm just curious about the online map of capital projects. So that means that members of the public will be able to go on the website and see what's going on and where, and what the timeframes expectations would be?
Yeah, it's possible to do that. We haven't released it to the public yet because we're waiting on internal feedback on the resources that we need to do that, and also working out glitches in that system. But certainly something we can do if council chooses to.
So, Mayor, what would be the advantage for that? Is that just further transparency with the community, or just a general advice, FYI sort of scenario, or help them plan their own?
Well, we don't want them planning their own.
No, they're planning their lives around future construction and stuff.
So it's certainly, once again, just an openness of the council. It's something else that can be accessed.
Thank you.
And also, it might mitigate some of the questions that come in through the call centre and other resources if people can just get online and see what works are happening in their area themselves.
All right. Further questions? No further questions?
Thank you.
Director. Would somebody like to move the report? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Jones.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. On page 37, the capital project status of having 360 capital projects on the go for the month of October is really great. I know that our teams work really hard. Also, the $6.5 million that was awarded in contracts to 10 specific projects in the region for October. That's really great to see that our guys are working hard. Page 40, our design services with regards to Victor Creek Boat Ramp has recently been expanded to an 85 vehicle car park facility to support the increased use. Recreational boating and fishing are popular activities in our region and are part of our Rec Fishing Strategy 2017, where the strategy actually highlights our need for more infrastructure in the region. Victor Creek and Campham Beach boat ramps are now open for the public, which is great. And the only other comment I wanted to make, Your Worship, was that surveys were also completed for a flood classification level review at 21 rain and river alert stations in readiness for our storm season. So just to let the community know that there's a lot that council does in preparedness for our storm season ahead.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say what a great opportunity we had to attend the opening of the refurbished Blue Water Lagoon last month. It was a cause for celebration. It was really great to see a number of families and children enjoying the new facilities on the day. The splash pads were a great hit with the kids, and these not only improve safety but also cater for children with disabilities within our community. Congratulations to the Works team for a fantastic job, and with school and Christmas holidays fast approaching, I can see record crowds taking advantage of this family complex. So for those members of our community who have not yet attended the upgraded facility, I encourage you to take your family and head down there soon to experience it for yourself.
Thanks, Councillor Townsend. Councillor Green, speaking for.
Speaking for. Just to add further to Councillor Townsend's comments, back in September we amended to increase the budget for the refurbishment of the Blue Water Lagoon play area by $300,000, and the scope of works included refurbishment of the existing blue slide to make it safer, removal of the softball surface at the children's play area, and replacement of the interactive play equipment with an interactive splash pad that included equipment that could be unbolted and replaced with new equipment, increasing the overall functionality of this area. The lagoon is a focal point for our locals and for people visiting this area, and the numbers through the gates prove this. So I think this was money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Green. Are there other speakers? Councillor May, speaking for.
Yes, thank you, Worship. Just in regards to the SharePoint online, and the Director touched on it in his report, I've been fortunate enough to have a look at that tool. The Director sent it to me to enable us to plan our next Council and Community Day using that tool, and I think once, and if we make the decision to release that to the public, it will give a very good overview of the capital works that are happening in and around the Mackay region. It gives you a very good look into what is happening right now, when it should be expected to be finished, and what's the next job from there. So congratulations to the team. I think it is a fantastic addition to enabling us to be able to manage our projects and communicate that with the public going forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor May. Other speakers? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Councillors, it's 10:28, almost 10:29. I would like to move procedurally that the meeting stands adjourned until 11:30 to enable the Council to participate in the Remembrance Day service here in Makai. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. The meeting is adjourned.